All right, we're back. Me and Rob are back. We're talking about Twitter, all the great stuff that has happened over the last month that we've missed. First of all, Elon's bought Twitter.
Mm-hmm.
What's going on with that? He's promoting. He's saying it's the best user since they added 1 million people this month.
Mm-hmm.
It must be running well. The $8 verification, everything. I haven't really kept up with the $8 verification, but whole new world. It's back. Twitter's back.
Mm. Well, I mean, there seems to be, it's just another example in terms of the response. It's like, oh, Elon's this, Elon's that. A lot of people are really happy that Elon's got Twitter. A lot of people seem to be really upset that Elon's got Twitter. A lot of people, like the $8 verification. A lot of people don't like it. Way too early to tell how good it's going to be. I think it's promising. I think a guy like Elon Musk is evidently intelligent.
I'll sort it out.
And
figure out what happens with it.
And here's the thing. I mean, Russ Roberts is a guy from the Hoover Institute of Economics, and he's got a podcast called Econ Talk, and Russ Roberts tweeted something that I think a lot of people need to have an understanding of this. Is if Elon's going to do, how much was it? 44 billion? Was that or something
44?
Like that?
Yeah, that's it.
If Elon's going to invest $44 billion into buying Twitter, and he has all these ideas, he's putting a lot of stake into Twitter. Maybe, and this is true for just about everything, I reckon, maybe Elon knows something that you don't. Maybe Elon's got an idea that you don't. And that's my take.
I was going to say, I think the elites kind of keep a secret, or the elites, whatever you want to call them. People generally
like the
more
eyes
wealth.
wide shut people.
Yeah. So they have a lot of understanding of the world. Obviously, they have a lot of connections, networks, and whatever. So they have this innate understanding of how the world works, and they must know how to manage the power. They probably know all the psychology behind it. And how they can use it to gather a narrative. I don't think Elon's doing it, but I think a lot of people do that with power. They try to create a narrative like the news does. Mm-hmm. I think Elon's narrative is great memes. That's what I think his narrative is. No, but genuinely, I think he is 100% for free speech. That's why. Well, actually, good question. With Trump, the vote to see if he's back on, it was 52%, 48%. So it was a very close vote, but he's back on. He hasn't tweeted anything, funnily enough. And is that, if he's coming back through the free speech of others, is that free speech almost for Trump? If it's been determined by others?
I know exactly what you mean, and that is, I don't know if you're intended or not, but that is a deeply philosophical question.
If you think about it, free speech on especially social media, but, well, for instance, Socrates, for instance, back in the day, he got free speech done, he's taken away, stripped from him. That's how he died eventually, because, he drank the poison, but got put in jail. His free speech was, he was developing ideas that were for young men to become smarter and stronger and make them think about how the world works. But the elites, again, said no and put him in jail and so on, and he passed away or whatever. Is free speech only determined by those above that choose, obviously, what to say and what not to say, I guess? Or is it the general populace of the world? Because that's what cancel culture is. Right. It's general populace also, but also do you think the elites create the narrative to go for or against a certain way?
Let's get back to sort of fundamentals. Free speech is the ability to say whatever you want without repercussion, provided you're not putting those in immediate danger and loss of life. And we have limitations, like you don't dox somebody's address, you don't yell fire in a crowded theatre, those sort of things, right? But I'm of the idea that anything else is kind of fair game. It's free speech, right? Yeah. And that's it. That's literally all. Don't tell me what to think, and don't tell me what I can and can't say. I make perfectly good use of the English language. I'll be all right.
Yeah, exactly.
I can speak, and don't tell me what I can and can't say. That's free speech. I don't think it needs to be determined by a pool of Twitter users. I don't think it needs to be determined by a pool of people on the board of Twitter. I don't think it needs to be determined whether or not free speech can happen via a poll. I don't know what Elon was doing there. If he was a free speech absolutist, the reinstatement should have happened instantaneously. To put it to a poll in my opinion, was a bad choice on Elon's behalf.
I agree as well.
I think that was another example of not an attempt. I don't think it was an attempt maliciously or intentionally, but it was the result was more polarization.
Well, I think the other thing you got to think. I think he thinks you'd say outside the box above all. But what better way to get Twitter going than getting a poll that says, "Do you want Trump back?" The most controversial person who got cancelled probably ever. Oh, I guess you could call it marketing for Twitter, if that's what you want to call it. What better way than to do a poll on if Trump, the most contentious person maybe in the world, obviously, because 52-48%, that's very, very close.
Not true.
I hope not.
I hope Trump is not the most contentious person in the world.
But-
That would be a disaster.
Yeah, but seriously, obviously the four horsemen, if that's what you want to call it, they talk about Trump is obviously the four horsemen of the cancel. They're saying it's Trump, who's been let in by the public vote.
Right.
Jordan Peterson, who got let straight away.
Yeah.
I think almost instantaneously, or maybe within a week or something. I don't know.
Yeah.
He said a couple of things, but I actually don't know the backstory of
Right. Yeah,
why he got it.
I can tell you about.
Oh, you tell me the backstory. I'll continue on from there, but
Well, I think that, correct me if I'm wrong, your audience, I'd be happy to read it in the comments below. But what I think of the Jordan Peterson one is that he just simply said that Sports Illustrated person who was overweight that got the cover was objectively unattractive. And he got cancelled for saying that someone who was overweight and obese was unattractive.
I've heard him say he's been cancelled, the 40 times or whatever. There's so many reasons you could. And then eventually, once it gets big enough, it's either people give up or they just keep going and they just stop it all in the dust. But next one was Andrew Tate. Mm-hmm. He got over, I think it was 1.2 million followers in a day or something ridiculous. Mm-hmm. And I've been keeping up with him, and he's so funny. Some of the things he's saying is so funny. I've been keeping up, and it's great.
Yeah. He's a great person to listen to.
Oh,
you don't have to agree with him, but he speaks very well.
And, 100%. 100%.
And he really means what he says, and he's entertaining the same way that it's entertaining to watch, A Clockwork Orange by Stanley Kubrick. The guy is a psycho. I'm not calling Andrew Tate a psychopath, but the guy that you're watching throughout the whole movie is a psychopath, right? And it's entertaining to watch that. It's just entertaining to watch these people. It's facts.
Actually, I should say there's 5 horsemen because I forgot about another one. Kanye West will say is the next one.
Kanye was the 4th.
I had another.
Trump,
I forgot about Kanye. I forgot about Kanye.
Who was the other one?
Alex Jones, but he's gone back.
He's not back yet.
No, so correct me if
He'll never get back.
I don't think he's going to get back because
he won't get back.
But I think Elon tweeted it in a comment about it. But I don't understand backstory again. As far as I'm aware, there was a school shooting somewhere in America.
Sandy Hook. In 2001, I believe.
Actually, you explain it because I understand the general gist of it, but you probably explain it a lot better than I do.
Right, so Alex Jones was cancelled for saying that the Sandy Hook victims were crisis actors and saying that there weren't actually children getting shot, and he suspected that was a ploy to take your guns away. Effectively, that's what it was. Yeah, that's why he got cancelled.
Which I don't think he's going to get back because I think that's again a bit too ridiculous. But also it is free speech, so it depends what level you want to go with it. But to be honest, again, so he's on Rumble or something. I'm guessing he's doing his podcast, right? I don't know.
He's got He's got a website called InfoWars. I think that's that's where he.
I know he's still around, but again, he's being cancelled. I think to an extent.
Well, he's cancelled.
I don't think he's coming back because I'd still hear about him. The only time I hear about him is people mention him on off topic about this topic.
Yeah.
But Kanye West, I don't agree with what he says, but he's shown to give a lot of.
About what he said?
Well, I think actually the thing is, if people question my beliefs, I can change them very quickly. But I saw he's talking about how I think he was covering the TV, music, film industry. He was saying how it's run by the Jewish people and so on. Did you see the graphic he had?
What was the graphic?
He had an Excel spreadsheet. It was ABC, BBC, this film crew, this film, whatever. A bunch of stations basically. List of, God knows, 50, let's say. Mm-hmm. And he basically color coded their race.
Okay.
So in red he did Jewish, and then there was a couple little, and then he did the other ones. And if you look at the graphic, he showed it like passing by in a car. It was a very, very red graphic. Very, very graphic. I could get up right now.
Don't worry about it.
Don't worry about it. But I mean, if he's showing evidence to an extent, I'm not saying it's true, but at the same time, people can't form opinions if they don't know anything about the area. At least Kanye's in the industry. He knows something about it. So he must know something.
Right.
And I'm starting to believe, he was saying how he got, he had, I think it was some sort of trainer. I don't know if it's what type of trainer it was, health or whatever. But apparently he got some sort of threat with his children or something like that, whether to keep quiet or like his children or something. He basically got an anonymous text, and it was something to do with his trainer. And he's saying, like, again, it's a Jewish culture. Like, they're trying to quiet me. It's like, if you don't do this, we'll put you back on these pills and so on. So I don't know if he's right. I don't know the whole story, but slowly I'm like, okay, maybe he's got some validity to his points.
Right.
Very, very slowly. But also I need my beliefs to be changed, because I think he said a lot of things I can't believe everything, because he's a bit, every genius, again, is a bit nuts in the head.
Why is he a genius?
I believe.
Like, what's the definition of the definition of a genius?
Well,
Is Kanye a genius?
Do you think of the great geniuses of the world, like the Shakespeare? You talk about
Shakespeare's a genius.
Okay, you talk about
Einstein,
Beethoven, or something like that. The ones historic figures you remember, basically. And I think he's one of the, again, musically, fashion, and creating, like, I guess, the media attention. He has some sort of method to his madness that makes him a creative genius. Because he is one of the most, I mean, over the last 20 years, if that's what you say, or 15, 20 years, he probably is the most.
Here's the thing that I push back on that, right? Is Kanye being called a genius? Like, what do you call Paul McCartney then? What do you call David Gilmour?
Yeah, you could say a lot of geniuses. There's also extents, but maybe not to the extent of like Einstein or the greatest historical figures. There's a general sense.
You know who Paul McCartney is,
yes, of course. Beatles.
You know who David Gilmour is?
I don't.
David Gilmour is
film.
No, he's music again. I'm keeping it. He's the lead guitarist from Pink Floyd.
Okay.
Right? Now, Paul McCartney, Eric Clapton, David Gilmour, Jimi Hendrix, they're geniuses.
They also set the path for a lot of music creators from the 60s, 70s, and then onwards, basically.
But what I'm getting at is Kanye in hip-hop, in terms of his rapping, isn't in anybody's top 10.
In terms of a rap top 10?
Yeah, rap top 10. Like, your rap top 10, you get your Biggie Smalls, you get your Tupacs, you get your Nas, Andre 3000, Eminem's in there.
If you want to go nowadays, you go like the Kendrick Cole,
Lamar,
you start going there.
Kendrick Lamar, you got Drake, A$AP Rocky, whatever, it doesn't matter. But if you're talking top 10 all time, I don't know many people that put Kanye in the top 10. I've never met anyone who puts Kanye in the top 10. I'm not talking shit about Kanye. I'm just saying, like, why is he a genius? He just calls himself a genius.
This is true.
And he gets the label. Let's not call him a genius.
I think
he's not a genius.
I think Jay-Z.
I'm not even saying he's. I don't think he's got bipolar. I don't think he's got any mental. Here's the thing, right? Let me just lay this down. Kanye West is a man that's very, very talented. He's a guy that has literally started from the bottom.
Now he's here.
And now he's here. But he came from the south side of Chicago, which is one of the most dangerous parts in the United States, right? He became one of the most prolific music producers of his time, starting in the late 90s, working a lot with Jay-Z. And then his first album, I believe, was like College Dropout. That was his first album. And he dropped absolute bangers on there. Iconic songs. Fantastic music. He produced a lot of the tracks himself, and he rapped on them himself, right? And then, I don't have to tell you about Kanye's career after that.
Yeah.
But here's the thing, right? Here is what I think is going on here, right? We have a guy who has said he's going DEFCON 5 or whatever it was on Jewish people, right? And then he went on Lex Friedman podcast. I listened to that, and I gathered, or at least I tried to put myself in Kanye's shoes. I tried to get an empathetic look at what he's saying, right? If he suspects, and if he thinks that the person that gave him medicine for his bipolar disease was Jewish. And there was a Jewish-run media that tore him down, and in one of the most prolific hit jobs we've ever seen. And he claims and he views that the media had a big part to do with the end of his relationship with Kim Kardashian. He can't determine where his kids go to school. He's got limited visitation on seeing his children that he produced because he views a lot of the things that have gone wrong into his life. They just happen to be Jewish people, right? They just happen to be Jewish people. How about a level of empathy and you say, look, instead of saying Kanye, you're this, Kanye, you're that, how about you say a more intelligent viewpoint or a more intelligent, rational debate, an antithesis to his points is to say, listen, Kanye, this may or may not be true, but that's beside the point. You want to be above that, and you want to be more intelligent, and you want to have more of a nuanced way of going about things. I don't think this is going to lead to a Holocaust. I don't think this is going to lead to a rise in anti-Semitism. I don't think any of that's true. I don't think any of that's going to happen. It's not a worry of mine. It shouldn't be a worry of the Jewish people, right? It shouldn't. It just shouldn't be. I'm not Jewish, whatever, but that shouldn't be I don't think it's going to lead to that. He hasn't done a whole lot bad. It's whatever. I'm just saying, think about it. Just think about it a little bit for yourself and just say, hey, Kanye says some dumb shit. Who gives a shit? Who cares about someone saying something? When did we all become such pussies? When did we all become such softies that we can't handle someone talking and someone saying something, even if it's dumb, even if it's stupid, even if it's unintelligent? How about we treat the rest of society with a level of respect and a level of decency where we can say that I think what he said is stupid, and of course Betty's going to say what he thinks is stupid, and of course what John said is stupid. What John reckons Kanye said was stupid. Liam reckons what Kanye said was stupid. So does Sandra. That's what, like, he said something stupid. We all think that he said something stupid. Move on. This is a wrap. You're creating a shitstorm here. You're creating a shitstorm that ends nowhere good. It doesn't end where you want it to end. It ends worse. Way worse. Someone said something. Move on. It's what they do that matters. Not what they say. It's what they do that matters.
I think this also stems into a point that people waste too much of their lives caught up in someone else's world. Yeah. And not only that, but like if you have a friend, right, that says something dumb, like it may not be this level, it might just be something off. You're like, all right, whatever. Or if it's something more extreme, just like don't be friends with them. But when it's someone famous that has a bit of obviously fame and money, whatever, status, key point status, then people just get their lives caught up and care too much, and then they just waste their lives on Twitter.
Yep, they do. Here's the thing, right? I'm going to look directly in the camera and say this. Look directly in the camera and say this. All right? Get off all this rubbish. It does you no good. Like, whatever. You want to be up to date with the latest social trends on Twitter? Fine. You can do that. You can waste your life. It's a waste of your time. It's a waste of life. You're not doing yourself any favors. Get an interest. Get a hobby. Whether it's skateboarding, whether it's scuba diving, whether it's reading poetry, join a book club, join a movie club, read something, go on a hike, get outside, do something different, tune out of all this rubbish, right? Watch a movie, do something different. Just don't engage in this nonsensical rubbish that is social media and the latest tirade and the latest trend and this person said that and this person's cancelled and what about the January 6th? What about... Just tell them all to shut up. Who cares? Like, it's rubbish. All of it's rubbish. Just have an interest. Have an actual interest and don't assume a political point and don't assume a socio-political thing as having an interest and a personality. Get a personality. Don't be an NPC. Have an interest in something, just something, and do that. You're better off. Tune out from all this bullshit. I know we're talking about right now, but tune out from all this bullshit. Go kickbox. Go do a yoga class. Do something different. Just get off this rubbish. It's nonsense. It's not doing you any good. Go do something better with your time than engage in this rubbish.
Yeah.
It's just rubbish.
Personally, I've moved on maybe probably 4 months ago now. I haven't watched Netflix or I haven't watched a TV show or movie in 4 months.
Now, watching TV shows and movies is fine. It's just
That's
engaging
me
in this
personally.
rubbish.
No,
Well, Kanye said this, and should we bring Alex Jones back on Twitter? It's like, it's all bullshit. It's all bullshit. It's all rubbish. It's all pipes, Jerry. It's all pipes. It's all it is, man. All right?
I was going to say, because you're a big movie, music, film enthusiast, but I was saying personally, for the last 4 months, I stopped doing movies and TV shows and instead focus on boxing, actually. I do boxing now, just at home, just working out, and then obviously doing this. I do this heaps, work, whatever, a bunch of things.
Got footy during winter?
No, I've stopped footy. I'm just doing basketball, so I got basketball to worry about. Point is, just you got to take a bit of time off social media or just electronics in general.
Yeah.
And go outside the world, go into the real world, and experience something that someone cares about in 30 years' time. Like if I do boxing for 5 years, it's a story. If I listen to the rubbish on Twitter, then no one cares in 30 years' time.
No one cares.
Whatever you want
Tomorrow.
To say. Yeah, well, that's the
Just
thing.
get off Twitter. Whatever. I scroll Twitter every day. But just don't have that as your life.
I do it for the fun. I like the inspirational stuff. And I like the memes. Yeah. I like Elon memes. Yeah, it is fantastic. And that's what Twitter should be. Yeah. Just listening to Elon memes. Yeah. We moved outside because we got kicked out. But actually, no, we'll go philosophical one again first. You have two options and both are guaranteed to happen. Whichever one you pick. If you pick one, it doesn't mean you're not going to have the other necessarily. You're just not guaranteed. Yep. So one's guaranteed, one's not guaranteed to happen. The options are having either a great career or a great marriage, and why?
Great marriage first and foremost, for sure. You shouldn't even think twice.
I think my philosophy behind it is number one is health, so body and mind, as in like how I rank stuff. Second is relationships, so marriage, family, friends, etc. And the third comes with money and career, whatever you want to say. You can have a great marriage, obviously, and career is a lot harder, but it's not guaranteed, or your dream career. But at the same time, I thought if hypothetically helping people, this is my viewpoint, if I was doing this, helping people with finances and self-improvement, if I could reach hypothetically, I don't know, 5 million people, let's say, and have maybe a decent marriage, is that a net positive, or would you rather the selfish thing of a marriage? Well, not selfish necessarily, but you get what I mean?
You take the marriage every day.
Still take marriage?
Yeah, it's your relationship.
This is from a marriage celebrant. So we both got our biases on each side. Yeah. We'll move on.
I am a marriage celebrant, so I definitely have a dog in the fight. Yeah. I'm taking marriage any day. Marriage is awesome. Get married.
Yeah, 100%. 100%. All right. What was your biggest failure and how did you acknowledge the lesson that came with it?
Biggest failure of mine, I know this is my biggest regret as well.
Yeah, could cover as well, yeah.
Is that I didn't try hard enough earlier on in VCE physics. And I haven't overcome that since.
So is it as in you were interested in certain areas or what was it come down to?
I didn't put the work in early off, like Unit 1.
Yep.
And like most of Unit 2. I didn't put the work in, so I didn't have the foundations. But then, and I was getting terrible SAC scores. Like it wasn't well. Like I was getting like D's and shit like that. So it wasn't great. Like I was getting like 55, 60%. I didn't have an understanding. But then I did the work. I got a tutor towards the later stages of Year 12 because I didn't give up. I wanted to keep going. And then, my SAC scores started to improve towards the end and did well enough on the exam, but it was too little too late. And I didn't have the foundation of a good physics knowledge. And if I had have done really well at physics, that would have changed the trajectory of my life. But it didn't, so.
Is that because you want to do something after school? Is that why?
Yeah, well, I mean, since then, I wouldn't say I've read many physics books, but I've had the audio books on, whether it be like a Brian Cox or a Neil deGrasse Tyson or something like that. But I have a very keen interest in science.
Yeah, for sure. I'm the same.
I love physics and biology, and I love the history of it, and so I love evolution and looking at that. Yeah. Like I love science. Like it's a very interesting thing to me, and I wish I had have tried harder at it in school.
I made the great mistake of doing specialist methods in physics,
Yeah.
But obviously, maths teaches you a lot, and it teaches you a little bit of the world. And specialist, which is, I guess, the smarter version of maths, is the applied version of physics.
Yeah.
What blew my mind about physics is when I first learned about relativity in year 11,
Yeah.
12, year 12. That blows your mind.
It's cool, isn't it?
When you hypothetically travel in time in forward. All these nuts concepts that where time relates to space. Oh, it's a whole new world once you learn it. But yeah. Physics is the whole universe itself. We know so little. As people say about the ocean and all that other stuff, but space we know so little. There's so much out there, and it's we there's so many questions that are yet to be answered. I think the people trying to figure it out are some of the bravest souls in the world, and the people who go out there into space, like we're going with Mars eventually, and obviously the moon. Moon had nothing on it, but it was cool. And it's an amazing world out there. Amazing world out there. And, never know what we could find. People say life. Odds are, surely there's life. There's a big enough world, there has to be life.
That's a crazy concept.
Well, actually, here's a great question. I've heard this many times before.
I know what the question is.
Yeah, the question is, what's scarier? Knowing that there's something out there, that there is something out there, or even scarier is that we're the only people in this universe.
It's way scary to be alone.
Yeah.
Way scary to be alone.
And I think that's a way to apply with life, because people who are alone in life obviously is much scarier than being alone in, not alone, but being obviously around people I don't necessarily hate, but like people you don't get along with, maybe not necessarily aliens hypothetically, but there's so many drawing points between life, and I think space just draws back to a lot of things as well. So you think it's scary to be alone?
Way scary to be alone. Way scary to be alone. We're not.
We can't be.
We can't. There's no chance. We're not that special.
But again, are we?
No,
Are we?
no.
Are we? Because the thing is, if you span across, the universe is 8 billion, it's like, I know it's above 5. The Earth's about 3 billion years old, or 2 billion, something like that.
6 billion. The Earth.
There you go. And
Dinosaurs 250 million years ago. Human evolution started being about 50 million years ago. I believe the invention, the conception of the universe was 7.6 trillion years ago.
Trillion?
No,
it has to be billion. It can't be trillion. No.
7.6 billion, I think.
That's nuts. And what's even crazy is we have all this history. Like Earth obviously had like maybe germs and all that other stuff was around for 1 billion years. Who knows? I don't actually know. But
germs are just other forms of bacteria.
Exactly. But the fact that we're born in this moment, and what's the chance? And the chance of us being born is like, I think 1 in 4 quadrillion or something ridiculous.
There's no way you can statistically measure that.
Yeah. Oh no, I'm pretty sure it's. I mean,
How can you
rough.
measure it? How can you measure it?
I don't know. But the point is,
the
odds.
Was it like the sperm in your dad?
Yeah, plus time and all this. But the thing is, you think about it, the chance of your parents not mean. My point here is, you're here on this earth for 80 years on average, let's say, 80, 85 years. So you got to make the time that you are in this earth at this specific time in the evolution we're going through with technology and all this amazing stuff coming out. You got to make the most of it with whatever you do. Work hard for society. I'm not saying you have to be a part of society, but work hard for the better future of the world is my point. Because it's just, the chance of us being alive at this time period is just outrageous, without many fears as well, because humans are on top of the earth. But outside of space, who knows?
Well, it's a deeply profound point. Like you say, you've got 80 years on this earth. Why, on God's green earth, would you spend your time worrying about what Kanye West said on Twitter?
Exactly right.
What? Why? Why waste your time?
Why are you doing it?
Why? Why care what somebody said on Twitter? Why cancel culture is rubbish? It's a waste of your time. It's a waste of your time. It's just a waste. Stop caring about it. It means nothing. Get an interest. Read a book.
Is that a possum?
Is that a possum?
Where's a possum? I can hear it. Oh, there it is. There's a possum. I wish I had a good enough camera and some light to find it, but I won't be able to find that. It's a possum. Oh, there goes the bloopers reel. Stemming from that, I was going to say, they did some nurse in some aged care facility when people on their deathbed essentially asked a question of like, what, like looking back at your life, a bunch, like
Biggest regrets.
Essentially. So, and there was like not spending time with family and friends, waste too much time on a job, not doing enough that you enjoy. But the number one thing was not doing something earlier that, I guess, well, I don't know the exact quote, but not doing something that you wanted to do earlier. Yep. So that's why I do this. You do Marriage Celebrant and Trivia, hosting people. You got to do stuff as not necessarily has to be early when you're coming out of high school, but start something, an interest that you love and enjoy doing, that you're passionate about, and you never know. That's the point. And I always preach it.
And trust me, you'll make a far better contribution to society if, just say you're really into knitting and you love knitting, right? And all you want to do is knit. And that's fine, right? And you start knitting all these blankets and these jumpers, and you may distribute them to homeless people to keep them warm, or you start a charity drive, and for the children who don't come from really stable environments and they don't really have good clean clothes, you can knit them clothes or whatever. You start these drives, these charities. Eventually, it becomes a business or whatever, and you're doing these knits, and you're a non-for-profit, your organisation. You donate a lot to charity. You have all these knitting drives, whatever. Knitting is an example of just somebody doing something that they really liked, helping society. I'd much rather that person knit those jumpers than tweet those fingers. Like, it's a no-brainer to me. To have an interest, man, just do something else than this rubbish cancel culture, social conflict, Trump versus Biden, liberal versus... It's all pipes, Jerry. It's nothing. It's bullshit. Do something interesting. Have an interest. Do something better than this rubbish that we keep bringing ourselves back to. It's just a culture war. And the best way to not participate in a culture war is to not war. Just 100%. Get on with people, man. Just go scuba dive. You go scuba diving in the Great Barrier Reef with the big sea turtles and the reef sharks and the clownfish, and go through all the awesome coral seas that we have, and have an appreciation for the environment and for the world that we live in. You go scuba diving in there, you see all the beautiful colours and you want to keep those beautiful colours. You're going to want to clean the oceans up. You're going to want to get a bloody plastic bag on the weekends and pick up the rubbish on the ocean. You don't want that in the ocean. No way we want that in the ocean, 100%. Man. There's plenty of good things to do. Just go out and do some things. Get off the internet and the Twitter and the bullshit. Do something. Just do something. You got to do something. I don't care if it's sucking toes or snorting blow. Just do something, man. Just do something. All right?
But some of the least productive things. But what I was going to say was, that's why I do this, is because at first it's passion.
Yeah.
And all the people who know originally will say, oh, he loved doing it. He did it for hundreds of thousands or hundreds and thousands of hours. And then when a lot of people make money, same with the big businesses like Elon, whoever you say, the big business, they make a shitload of money, let's say, and then they forget, the fans forget that they're doing it still for the passion. They're not doing it all for the money. It's all about the passion. People do it for the passion. Sure, money comes along, but as long as they're doing it for the passion and doing something they love, the world is loved. It's great. Everyone needs to do something for the world, no matter what it is. It can be as big as little as anything. 100%, 100%.
Just help an old lady cross the street. Just do that. Next time you see an old lady and she's crossing the street, or an old man, whatever.
Or you have to say that nowadays.
Or an elderly, non-binary, whatever. I don't care, right? Just help them across the street and do that. Just find someone and help them across the street. Just do something nice for somebody and get off Twitter. Just stop with this bullshit. Like, it's weird that we're even talking about, oh, should he be cancelled for saying this? Or it doesn't matter. It just does not matter. And none of that matters. It does not matter. Just have a good time, man. Have a good time. Watch the Scorsese movie. Watch Wolf of Wall Street.
Oh, Wolf of Wall Street.
What's that? What's a great movie, right? Watch Wolf of Wall Street and have a good time. Get drunk with your friends, right?
It's a great world with that.
Do some stupid shit.
Yeah.
Just go have fun, man. Make some mistakes. Flip a car. I don't care. Just do something. Crash a motorbike. Not seriously, but I don't care. Whatever.
I'll finish off with this last question.
Yeah, right. One more question. It's getting late, isn't it? We've got to go.
What are you most curious about right now?
At the moment, I know I spoke about this at Trivia, but I am fascinated with the potential that we are maybe not the first advanced civilization. The work of guys like Graham Hancock and Jimmy Corsetti and Randall Carlson, they're doing fantastic work on the etymology of humans, right, and where we come from, and they're looking at the Younger Dryas period and at the end of the Ice Age, and they're looking at the carbon dating on Göbekli Tepe in Turkey and the Serpent Man in the United States and the pyramids in Mexico, and you know the common theme of a bearded man or warrior or whatever coming to rebuild a civilization from the water, and they all reference floods. Like I don't think that we are the world's first internationally connected advanced civilization. I'm not saying that they had 747s and nuclear bombs, but there's more than one way to be advanced, and I think that it's a very fascinating topic of discussion, and I think there's a lot of evidence to show that there is a civilization that's got lost to a cataclysmic flood that we just don't know. I mean, I think that's
under the ocean where we don't look at,
yeah,
or something ridiculous like that. Who knows?
I mean, you look back at it, I mean, this is just basic science, and you can determine with things that, if you look back at the Ice Age and the sea levels that have dropped, they were once, the sea levels rose, right?
Yeah.
But they were once down here, and once down here would have been the land, but now it's underwater.
Now it's Atlantis.
Atlantis is a theory. It's
the same idea.
Yeah, but a lot of the statistic is 95% of the ocean remains unexplored.
Who knows?
And you look at things like I can't remember what the Bimini Road that's just out there in the Mediterranean Sea. It's a road. It's not a road that cars are driving past. Yeah. It's got water. It's more right, but it's an unlikely natural formation of rock in a very clean thing underwater. And it dates back to the time in which that was. Possible where it could have been constructed by man. I don't know, but you ask the question. I'm curious. I'm thinking about that. I'd much rather spend my time thinking about that and thinking about, oh man, are we the first advanced civilization? That's pretty cool, man. That's pretty cool. That's sick, man. You got to watch. You listen to this. You probably already do. Ancient Apocalypse on Netflix. Graham Hancock. What a guy. All right? What a guy. That's way more interesting than what Kanye said on Twitter.
Wow. What's the serial killer's name? Everyone dressed up for Halloween?
Jeffrey Dahmer?
Jeffrey Dahmer. I haven't watched it. I don't care.
I don't care about Jeffrey Dahmer. I don't care. I'd rather watch Entourage. You watch Entourage?
I haven't watched Entourage. My dad loves. I haven't watched it. I haven't. Actually, I'm going to get exposed here. So, about 7 years ago now, my friend put down a movie to watch. It goes for roughly 3 hours.
What movie is it?
I'll get there. Okay. I watched the first hour and a little bit, where they're in a field for a long time.
You better not be talking about Interstellar.
I'm talking about Interstellar. I've never watched Interstellar to the full extent. Yeah, I've watched an hour and a little bit where he's with the daughter, and when he just starts going to space, I went to sleep. I was about 11 years old. And I haven't watched it since.
That's my favourite movie of all time.
And I haven't watched it. And I definitely should. I definitely should. I have to. And I knew.
I said it at IMAX, bro.
Yeah, because it came out 2013, 14. So I think probably 2015. So it would have been 12-ish.
That's the best movie I've ever seen.
I know it's one of the greatest movies ever.
Here's five movies that are better than spending your time on Twitter. Number 1 is Interstellar. Number 2 is The Dark Knight. Number 3 is There Will Be Blood. Number 4 is Goodfellas. And number 5 is Mulholland Drive.
I've watched The Dark Knight.
Yeah.
That's the list. That's all. There's 4
Django
ones.
Unchained.
I've watched that. It's a great movie. A lot of DiCaprio movies are fantastic.
The Aviator, another Scorsese
I haven't
flick.
watched that, actually.
Unbelievable.
I've heard it. I've heard it's great. A great movie you should watch that you probably have watched. Real Steel.
Real Steel. Is that the Hugh Jackman one?
Yeah, I don't know why that came to my mind.
Yeah, I'm not going to bother watching that again.
Great movie.
Yeah.
When I was 6. I don't know. Yeah. Anyway, we'll head off.
Yeah, we're rambling, aren't we, bro?
Yeah, we could go on forever, but that was sick. Anyway, catches.
See ya.